One of the things I do like about real estate is that if you're able to qualify as a real estate professional in the eyes of the IRS, which generally means you're spending 750 hours or more actively involved in real estate. So, for example, we're working with a client and it was husband and wife. They were married, they had some kids. And one of the things that was interesting is that um, the wife was kind of burnt out from working in tech. However, the husband was still had a lot of energy and was very passionate about this. And they were looking for some ways to diversify out of the stock market and look at investing into real estate. And I said, to the wife, would you be interested in kind of managing some of these investment real estate properties and basically retiring from tech and focusing on that as your job moving forward? And she said, actually, yeah, I like the real estate business. I think it's interesting and I am passionate about that. And I would be much happier doing that. So I said, well, what's interesting is that if you spend at least 750 hours per year, which, you probably would, given everything we just talked about, now you can take those passive losses that you were getting from these real estate properties and turn those into active losses, which then you can offset against your husband's ordinary W-2 income and RSU income. So that was an instance where just asking a couple more questions really helps paint the picture of not only making their life better from a tax or investment standpoint, which is cool, but really it's allowing them to have more happiness, having them feel more fulfilled, having more enjoyment, maybe for the wife spending more time with her kids before they go off to college, and allowing the husband to continue to thrive in the role he's in with his job and his coworkers and building things and being happy. So that's one thing that we're working through. Another thing that I think is pretty important is that you really want to think about in life, once you start to wind things down with your career, what are you going to spend your time on once you're no longer working? And try to think about this at least 3 years before you're looking at retiring. This is probably one of the biggest issues that we see time and time again with some of the prospects and clients that we're working with, is that they've been so good at their career and they've been so passionate about, but sometimes they get to a point where they're ready to dial things back or they're a little burnt out. And so really giving some thought to what are you going to do in that next phase of your life? Are you going to get involved with community service like organizations like Rotary, or are you going to give back and mentor to those that are kind of in your shoes with organizations like SCORE? Or are you going to kind of manage your investments? And so one of the ideas that we'll recommend to clients if they're interested, in managing their own real estate so they kind of stay busy with life, is using that real estate professional status, getting actively involved in managing their investment properties, because the whole purpose of that is to be able to take whatever depreciation benefits, whatever passive losses you're getting from your real estate properties, and then apply that against your W-2 income, your ordinary income from RSUs, or a powerful tool that we're working with clients when they're in their lower income years, typically when they do retire, is looking at Roth conversions. So one of the things about Roth conversions is that you're able to move money that's all taxable as ordinary income into Roth accounts that are tax-free. Now, when you do that in that year, that is a taxable event with ordinary income taxes that are due. However, if you're a real estate professional and you have hundreds of thousands of losses coming through, and you're able to take those and offset maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in Roth conversions, you could potentially offset the two and create a net neutral situation or a zero tax situation if those are the only two sources of your income. So that's something that's pretty cool. And then last but not least, it also helps set your family up for a great legacy. And so legacy planning is also something that's really important for our clients. So one of the things that changed with the tax laws a few years ago is that when heirs inherit beneficiary IRAs, they typically have to pull that money out within 10 years. And so that didn't used to be the case. You could usually spread that over your lifetime, but now you have to pull that money out in 10 years. And so what happens for a lot of our clients is that their kids end up inheriting these big retirement accounts, and they're all taxed as ordinary income. And the other problem with that is that these kids are usually in their highest income tax years because they're in their 40s or 50s, when their parents pass away in their 70s, 80s, or 90s. So now they have this giant pot of retirement accounts that are going to come out in 10 years, and it's all going to get taxed as ordinary income. So by you doing a good job and setting up your heirs for success, by doing these Roth conversions and potentially having a real estate professional status, you can help do these Roth conversions, offset the two transactions, make it tax net neutral, but then also pass on those Roth IRA accounts to your beneficiaries tax-free, and then they can be set up for even better success. So that's one thing that's cool about the real estate professional status. Another reason why I am a fan of real estate in your portfolio. So just some things to keep in mind, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. Schedule a link below to spend some time with us. We'll walk through to see how some of these strategies relate to your situation. And if you have any questions, give us a call, shoot us an email, whatever you prefer, and we'd love to meet you and see how we might be able to assist you. So thank you so much and have a great day.